Hello, can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Valentine Gostev. I'm holding the position of a quality assurance engineer at Percona, and today we will talk about Percona XtraBach in a hot backup for InnoDB databases. First of all, I want to apologize for our recent attempt to pass the webinar. I ran into some technical issues and couldn't connect to the teleconference. Okay, let's proceed. In our agenda, we will discuss the operation principles, getting started with XtraBach, some usage scenarios, full backups, incremental backups, partial, importing and exporting, streaming and compression. Also, we will highlight some known issues, and we will learn where to find help for XtraBach. Percona XtraBach is a free and open source MySQL hot backup software which performs non-blocking backups of InnoDB and XtraDB databases. XtraBach supports all versions of Percona server, MySQL, MariaDB, and Drizzle. It allows to perform streaming, compression, and incremental backup. Also, it features from server-to-server tables migration. Percona XtraBach is a combination of XtraBach C program and InnoBackup Perl script. The XtraBach binary copies and manipulates InnoDB data, while InnoBackup provides enhanced functionality such as backup of MySum tables and some other features. Okay, let's review what solutions do we have. We have cold backup, when we stop the server and just perform a raw copy. It's a very high impact on production, and it is called a cold backup, but it is very fast for backup and restore. MySQL dump is another solution, but it has less impact, and we cannot stop the server, but it's rather slow for backup and restore. Also, if you keep your MySQL data directory on a logical volume, you may perform a snapshotting, but many users report that it is a rather unreliable and unstable way. And then we have MySQL Enterprise Backup and XtraBach, hot backup utilities which have low impact and perform hot backups, which are very fast both for backup and restore. Also, we should take into account the MySum databases. They are also supported by the previous solutions, but it has some impact because we should lock tables while we're copying them to guarantee the data consistency. Okay, what the features are provided by the hot backup utilities. Here are listed the features which are shared with XtraBach and MySQL Enterprise Backup. Both of these utilities provide non-blocking backups. They support InnoDB and MySum engines. They support compressed and partial backups. They allow to control disk input-output throttling and do incremental backups. Also, XtraBach has some exclusive feature set, such as parallel backups, streaming backups, operating system buffer optimizations, exporting and migrating individual tables, data and index files analysis, and it has a MySQL client-compatible interface because it's compiled against those libraries. And the MySQL Enterprise Backup has its own command line interface. Okay, operation principles. InnoDB continues to write to the logs and files in the background even if we don't perform any query activity against the database. That makes it impossible to perform raw copying of InnoDB data while MySQL server is running. XtraBackup is based on InnoDB crash recovery functionality. It copies InnoDB data files, which results in internal data inconsistency, and then crash recovery is being performed and makes them a consistent and usable database. Here is the image which shows basic principles of InnoDB. Right, all changes first go to the buffer pool, and the changes are tracked in the transaction log, and the changes are flashed to disk in background. So, in order to provide us a valid backup, XtraBackup performs two primary tasks, or two primary steps to take the backup. First of all, it starts a log copying thread in background, which tracks all the changes to InnoDB files, and if they are changed, it copies the changed blocks to XtraBackup log file, which is located in backup directory. Once the log copying thread is started, XtraBackup starts copying InnoDB files to the backup directory. It is not a simple file copy operation. XtraBackup boots up its embedded InnoDB engine and opens and reads the files in the way InnoDB operates, by reading data dictionary and copying a page by page at a time. So, when we perform the backup, we copy table spaces while they're in use, and we track the changes to the transaction logs. So, after we have taken the backup, we have inconsistent InnoDB files, and the changes tracked and written to the XtraBackup log file. The data files from backup are not point-in-time consistent. They are stored like a recoverable image copy, because some parts of this data have been copied at different times while the program was running, and they might have been changed while this was happening. So, to use the backup for restore, first of all, we should prepare it. And as it was mentioned earlier, XtraBackup boots embedded InnoDB engine and performs crash recovery. It applies committed transactions and uncommits transactions that have modified data but weren't committed till backup has completed. So, while performing the prepare operations, we apply changes from XtraBackup log file. We apply only completed transactions, and all uncommitted transactions are rolled back. So, getting started with XtraBackup. Percona XtraBackup is available both from binary packages and from source code tree. The packages are available for Linux distributions, FreeBSD, Solaris, and Alpha version is available on Windows. You may install Percona XtraBackup by downloading a binary package, or you may build it from source. Building from the source is rather simple. We have a building script. Let me show you. Yep, at the moment I'm opening the shell to show. So, source code for XtraBackup is available either from tarball packages, which you may download at Percona.com website, or you may also branch the source code tree from our project at Launchpad. So we may get the source code in this way. One moment. And once the source code is downloaded, we should build 3 binaries for it. XtraBach consists of each binary for MySQL version, so in source code tree we have utils directory, which has build .shell script. We should build it against XtraBach 5.1, XtraDB 5.1, XtraDB 5.5, and InnoDB 5.1 built-in. So you just run the script and parse one of the arguments to build the binary. XtraBach package is shipped with 4 binaries and a Perl script. It is XtraBach, XtraBach 5.1, XtraBach 5.5. They are built against the built-in InnoDB plugin from MySQL 5.1 and against InnoDB plugin from MySQL 5.1 and 5.5. You should take into account that you should use the proper binary for the MySQL version you run. So if you are running MySQL or Percona Server 5.5, you should use XtraBach 5.5 binary. If you use MySQL 5.0 or 5.1 with InnoDB, with built-in InnoDB storage engine, you should use XtraBach 5.1. If you run MySQL or Percona Server 5.1 with InnoDB plugin, you should use just XtraBach binary. Also, it contains tar for IBD binary, which is a patch tar utility for streaming backups of InnoDB data files. This utility allows only to create tape archives from InnoDB data. It cannot be used for extracting. For extracting, you should use a usual tar utility with ignore zeros options. And in the backup script is shipped in the package. It's a wrapper script which provides additional functionality, like streaming the backups across the network or streaming it to files. And in the backup 1.5.1, it's a symlink to in the backup script to provide backward compatibility with previous versions of XtraBach. Okay, how XtraBach could be used? We may use XtraBach for regular backups, for migrating data from server to server, and for rapid setup. I will show you some basic scenarios like full backups, incremental backups, and how XtraBach can be used there. Okay, full backups. Full backup is the most basic type of backup widely used by most of the users. To run a full backup of a MySQL database, you should run XtraBach and provide the MySQL data directory provides the backup option and target directory where backup will be stored. So an example will be like this: XtraBach. Data directory is in my case it's var lib MySQL. We specify the backup option, and we're specifying the target directory. Please note, if the folder doesn't exist, I mean folder directory XtraBach full, it will be created during the backup. So XtraBach reads the default configuration from MySQL, performs the copying of InnoDB files, and shows us the end of transaction log. So what happens when we perform full backup? XtraBach changes the working directory to the MySQL home directory and creates a backup in the target directory. Please note that XtraBach binary itself copies only InnoDB files. Table definition files aren't included. To include them, you should use InnoBackup script. And in the backup directory, you may see the InnoDB files, XtraBach checkpoints files, and XtraBach log file. XtraBach log file is the file I mentioned recently. Keeps the changes to the InnoDB data which were performed while we were running a backup. And XtraBach checkpoints XtraBach checkpoints contains information about the current backup. It shows us that backup type was full. It is backupped. It starts from log sequence number 0 and provides us the latest log sequence number. The log sequence number when backup was completed. Okay. After we have taken the full backup, it is stored a recoverable image copy, and we may want to restore it for further usage. XtraBach binary does provide only prepare step. If we are using XtraBach binary without InnoBackup script, we should copy files manually after prepare. Okay, let's run the prepare. We specify the prepare option and point the target directory to the directory where where full backup is kept. So you may see from the output that InnoDB messages, it's the messages from the built-in InnoDB engine, and as in this example, dataset was very small, just some tables and some basic test tables. It was rather quick. And on this slide, you may see another sample output. It's from the earlier version 1.5, and at the moment I'm using the recent 1.6. It's one of the sample outputs. And once we have prepared the backup, the contents of the human readable XtraBach checkpoint file has changed. We may see the difference now. Now you may see that previously, right after taking the backup, it was full backupped. Now it is full prepared, which means that crash recovery was performed, and we may use this InnoDB data. To use this data further, we should stop MySQL or Percona server, copy the InnoDB files to their original location, ensure that file permissions are correct. MySQL system account should be able to access those files both for reading and writing. It's important, especially when you run an XtraBach, not from MySQL user or from some another system account. Also, you may use in the backups script for full backups. In the backups, besides copying InnoDB data, it also copies table definition files, it copies triggers, and the tables from CSV storage engine. It has a bit different syntax. So we just specify the root directory. One moment. We just specify the root directory for backups, and in the backups, while taking the backup, creates the timestamped directory where backup files are copied. Okay, I should start the server. In the backups, here the failure you're seeing, it occurred because MySQL server wasn't running. In the backups, needs to connect to MySQL server to read its version, because in the backups can select the proper binary for the MySQL server version you run. So it's important for in the backups to be able to connect to MySQL server. Okay, from this log, we may see that in the backups connected to the MySQL, then it's after it reads its version, it picks the proper binary and starts the XtraBach. Here you may see the command in the backup used to start. And then XtraBach performs the copy of InnoDB data files. After they have been copied, XtraBach keeps running in the background and tracks the transaction log for changes. And then in the backup, it logs MySam tables and copies non-InnoDB data. After those files are copied, it releases the log and it stops XtraBach log copying thread. This provides that MySam and InnoDB tables are consistent to each other. It means that we have data which is point in time consistent to each other. Okay, we have taken the backup in a backup script. What about the prepare? In the DB files, like in the previous example with XtraBach, they require prepare step to be usable again. So here we run in a backup, apply log option, and we specify the data directory. Okay. In a backup, launch the XtraBach with the prepare option, and it performs crash recovery against copied files, and we have usable files again. Also, to copy back the prepared files to their original location. It's important because in a backup, reads the data directory parameter from MySQL configuration file, which are located in a default location. So if you have some different options, you should specify the custom configuration file by default file option to the in a backup. So it could know what directory it should copy back the data files. And again, if in backup wasn't run from MySQL user, you should still ensure that file permissions are correct, or otherwise MySQL will fail to start because of permission problem. Okay. Now we have introduced the full backups, and the next step is incremental backup. Incremental backup allows to copy only the data which has been changed from the last backup. And during incremental backup, XtraBach doesn't perform data comparison. It means that it doesn't perform time-consuming steps to analyze the previously backup data. So you may even run incremental backup if you don't have a local copy of the previous full backup. Okay, we have the full backup directory, and for example, we change some data. Okay, let's create a sample table. In a DB table. And to insert some rows to it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, pardon. Okay, we have some records in our table 2. And let's take a full backup. Okay, we're taking a full backup with some initial data. And then we perform changes. Okay, the data has been changed, and our table 2 contains 6 rows now. And then, while performing the incremental backup, options are pretty much the same. We should still specify the data directory. We should specify the backup option, but the target directory should point to the directory where incremental changes will be stored. And take a look at the incremental base dir option. The location of the full full backup directory should be there. Okay, I also mentioned that we can do incremental backups without having a local copy. Besides incremental base dir, we also have incremental LSN option, which stands for incremental log sequence number, where we may just specify the recent log sequence number from full backup, and extra backup will start from that position. So let's take a look at extra backup checkpoints. We may see the recent log sequence number, and let's perform the incremental backup. Okay, specifying the incremental, the target directory which contains incremental changes, and incremental LSN option. Okay, and backup has started. You may see that it copies the InnoDB files with .delta suffix. It doesn't copy the whole file. Extra backup scans the InnoDB files and copies only the changes which were changed after the log sequence position we have specified while running the extra backup. So we don't copy the data twice. Also, you may create additional incremental backups based on recent incremental backups. So, for example, you may create a full backup once and then do just incremental backups. So you are free to design your backup process. Okay, now how should we prepare incremental backups for restore? In case of incremental backups, they should be prepared in order they have been applied. So first of all, we should prepare the full backup. Then we should prepare the first incremental backup, then the second, and so on. Okay. One important note. When I was talking about the prepare step from extra backup, I have noted that it commits all transactions, all complete transaction flow from transaction log, and uncommit and rolls back uncommitted transactions. But in case of incremental backups, we don't need such undo step, because these transactions might be committed later in incremental backup. So, while preparing the full backup, besides the prepare option, we specify apply log only. This will make extra backup to skip the undo steps. Okay, we're preparing the full backup, incremental changes. Okay, it's the output is pretty much the same. You may see the InnoDB engine messages, but now we're interested in preparing into applying incremental changes. It should also be used with apply log. fly log only. While preparing incremental changes and applying them to the full backup, we always specify the full backup directory as a target directory. It's the opposite when we create the incremental backup. We specify the directory for incremental changes as a target. Backup, XtraBach full, and while preparing, we specify additional option incremental directory, and we point it to our directory with incremental changes. Okay. Now the data has been prepared. Let's check how it works. First of all, we have created 3 rows in table 2, and then added after full backup another 3 rows, and then performed incremental changes. So after that, after preparing full backup with incremental changes, we should be able to see all 6 rows after restore. Let's check it. Removing rows, stopping Percona server, copying the InnoDB files, to our MySQL home directory, overwriting the files, please ignore these files. XtraBach have been logs. It's just a junk from the previous tests. So actually, you don't need to copy the XtraBach dash files which were created with in a backup or XtraBach. To restore data files in this case, you just need to copy InnoDB files. Okay. Now we see that it has wrong permissions. Oh no, it has correct permissions here. If we first remove them and then copy, it will have wrong permissions. Okay, let's start on MySQL server. Let's take a look at our test table. It has 6 rows, so incremental changes are working. In the backups also provide incremental backup support. It was recently added to the Percona XtraBach 1.6, which was released on April, and the support of incremental backups has been introduced there. It has a bit different syntax, but it is very, very similar. Okay. Doing the full backup within a backup script. Within a backup script. Here I use the no timestamp option. As you remember, when demonstrating the full backups within the backups, we specify just the root backup directory, where in the backups created the timestamped directory and copied file there. But someone may not like this and want to specify the specific directory where to copy the backup files. In this case, we use a no timestamp option and specify the exact directory where files will be kept directly. Okay. So after the full backup will be taken, we will perform the incremental backup, which differs with additional incremental option, incremental base dir option, and the main argument is the target directory with incremental changes. Okay. So in the backups, we don't want timestamp folders now. Incremental base dir. Also in the backups support incremental log sequence number option, and also you may find in the help in manual for Xtra backup incremental extra LSN option. Extra LSN option allows to specify the folder where Xtra backup checkpoint is located. So you may want not to keep a local copy of backup, and you don't want to remember the exact log sequence number, which will be too complicated to remember. But you may copy just a few bytes Xtra backup checkpoints file and use it for incremental backups. And in this particular case, we're using a base dir option, incremental base dir. Okay, and we will keep our changes in incremental folder. Okay, let's go. Okay, in the backup is running. Launch, first of all, it connects to the MySQL server, reads its version, starts Xtra backup, copies InnoDB changes, then copies the non-InnoDB data, and then stops the background local open thread. And similar to Xtra backup, in the backups, while applying the log, we should specify the redo only option. So for in the backups, apply log and redo only is the same as for Xtra backup, prepare and apply log only. Also, it is not strict that if you have taken the backup within the backups, that you should prepare it within the backups too. You may also use the Xtra backup binary directly, but keep in mind that the proper version of Xtra backup binary should be used. I mean Xtra backup 5.1 or Xtra backup 5.5. Also, once you have created a full backup with in a backups, in backup directory, you may find Xtra backup binary file. Okay, it contains the name of the binary which was used for taking InnoDB backup. Okay, let's prepare the apply log, redo only, and full backup. So it's in this case, in the backup, just read the XtraBach binary file and uses the binary which is specified there, and then uses XtraBach to perform preparation step. And to apply changes, we just specify additionally incremental due option. So you may see that the process of taking incremental backups in a backup is pretty much the same as on XtraBach binary. Okay, so it's almost the same. And one important note. While performing incremental backups in a backup, it performs full backup of my sum tables each time. So there are no incremental support for my sum tables. Okay, let's move further. And the next topic on our agenda is a partial backup. XtraBach features partial backups, which means that you may backup only some specific tables or databases. XtraBach binary has two options for working with partial backups. It is tables and tables file. First option allows to specify a regular expression, and XtraBach will backup only those tables which match such regular expression. And option tables files allows to parse a file name as an argument, which will contain the table's name in database name dot table name format, one per line. Okay, let's see how it works. Cleaning our backup directory, XtraBach. Also, you may know that here, each time I type the data directory option for XtraBach. If you have this option in your configuration file, which is in default location, for example, /atc my.cnf, you don't have to specify such option each time. Here, I type it each time, so you remember about it. That's important that XtraBach for backup needs the MySQL home directory address. Okay. Passing a regular expression to the tables option. Let's say, for example, we want to backup only table T2. So it will look like this. And then starting taking partial backup. Oh, my bad. Forgot the backup option. Sorry. Yes. And you may see the T2 table is skipped, because I forgot to mention that the regular expressions should also include the database name. So correct one will be this. So we specify the database name in regular expression, the dot in brackets, and then table name. Partial 2. Okay. So this time you may see that T1 table was skipped and T2 table has been copied to the to the backup directory. Also, please note that IB data file is copied each time, because It contains the necessary information about the tables to backup. And the tables file options is pretty much the same. You may see from the slide the sample usage. So it's just database name, dot, and table name. In the backup, it also provides partial backup support. It has include option, which is has the same meaning as tables option in XtraBach, and tables files option, which is usage is the same as with XtraBach. And also in backup it features databases options. So you may just specify a list of databases to backup as an argument. For example, the last line here shows it that in a backup databases, and in double quotes or single quotes as you wish, you specify the list of databases divided by a white space. Also, in the backup manual, you may see that in this list you can also specify the not only some specific databases to backup, but also some specific tables. Databases option also supports a file name, if I remember it correctly. Yes, databases also supports table file option, so it's very much the same. So databases option also can work as a table file option. Okay, so and now I think it's the most interesting part, importing and exporting all the individual tables. In standard InnoDB, it is not normally possible to copy tables between servers by copying the files, even when we have InnoDB file per table enabled. Because we may hit that IB data file and the table file may contain different table space IDs. But XtraBach allows to migrate individual table from any database which runs the InnoDB engine to Percona server with XtraDB. Because the Percona server features the InnoDB expand import patch. The table is required to be created with InnoDB file per table option enabled, and so exporting is only available when you store your table in its own table space. And on the target server, which would be on the Percona server, you should enable both InnoDB file per table and InnoDB expand import options. Please note that since Percona server 5.5, the InnoDB expand import has been renamed to the InnoDB import from XtraBach option. So, and behavior and values are the same, just the name changed. Okay, let's create another table and we will test how importing works. We will create table T3. The most simple schema possible, just to save time. Okay, table has been created. In our MySQL data directory, we may see this t3.ibd file, and for example, we want to migrate it. We may migrate it to another server or to the same server but different database. So we will use the partial backup to backup only this T3 table. Okay. And now we have created the table. We have created the backup with this table. And now we run XtraBach with prepare and export options. Export option will create the special export file for this table, which is understood by Percona server, and it understands that it is an imported table and performs the necessary steps to use the table properly. Okay. Target directory is part. Okay, let's take a look. Backup, part, test. Okay, and we may see here t3.exp and t3.ibd files. These files can be used further for migration. Then to proceed with the migrating the table on another target server or on another target database, we should create the table in a DB table in its own table space with the same schema as the table we import. So we are creating the T4 table with the same schema. After that, after we have created this table, we perform discard table space. It can be done by alter table. So after that, the IBD file from this table will disappear from the file system, but the ID of this table space will be kept in the system in the DB table space. And after that, we copy those files, both .exp and .ibd, to the MySQL data directory, to the location where they should be. Okay. Trying to show as much simple examples as I can. Okay, we have copied those files, and now we should ensure that MySQL will be able to access them. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, we have T4 files. Now let's back to our tables. Checking that we have expand import enabled. If it isn't, it is a dynamic variable and it can be changed while the server is running. So it has possible values 0 and 1. And to enable it, we should set it to 1. Okay. In the DB expand import option now is enabled. Now we coming back to our T4 table, and we perform import table space. Okay. One more. Very strange. Okay, let's try quickly to do another database. Creating the same table. And discarding its table space. Okay, done. Now, then let's copy the files. Backup, part, test, T3. Okay, we should always ensure that file permissions are correct and ownership as well. Okay, now they're MySQL. Filter table T3. Import. Okay, the table has been imported, and after import, its data can be used further. But in this example, I haven't put any data, but it works. Okay, the next step is streaming and compression. We have completed overviewing the importing and exporting individual tables, which I find a very useful option, especially when you want to debug some of your applications, but you don't need all the data set, but you need only one specific table to test or check. And also, it's useful for data migration, which is much faster than replication. Okay, streaming and compression. Streaming mode supported by XtraBach sends the backup to standard output in tar format instead of copying files to the backup directory. This allows much flexibility how to work with the backup. We may either pipe it to the zipping program or send it across the network to another machine. So the option should be specified as a stream. So we're using in a backup stream with the value tar. Then we specify the target directory where temporary files and XtraBach specific files will be kept, and then we are moving the standard output to the file where backup will be kept. Also, when we send it across the network, for example, this command will pipe it to the secure shell, and then you may at once create the backup on another host. So the most important feature here is streaming the backup contents to standard output, which provides additional flexibility for compressing with zip or sending it across the network. But it has one important note that XtraBach archives should be extracted with tar with ignore zeros options. Otherwise, only part of your data could be extracted from the compressed archive. Okay, known issues. This part I want to dedicate to some very specific moments of using the XtraBach. For example, one I have mentioned previously that if you have created a streaming backup, you should use the ignore zeros option to get the full contents of your backup. Also, the most common mistake I have met is improper usage of XtraBach binaries. And you should remember that it's very important to use the binary built against the MySQL or Percona server version you're running to provide the binary compatibility of InDB data. Because using the wrong binary may result in some error messages or even data corruption. Also, as for the known issues, Percona XtraBach has a bug tracker on Launchpad where it stores its source code, and you may find the opened and release and closed bugs, and in some bugs you may find some possible workarounds if you need some troubles. So it can be very useful source of information. But besides of the bug tracker, we have some other options. Percona provides several community support options where people may find help. First of all, it's a forum where you just ask a question and someone will help you. Our MySQL performance blog, on its post you may find very useful and tips and some very specific aspects of using InDB and XtraBach particularly. Also, we have Google groups for users and developers, the bug tracker and source code tree at Launchpad I mentioned, the binary packages you may find at Percona.com site, and the documentation pages are located also at Percona.com site. If you've met any trouble or if you think that you hit a bug, please report us this case so we may check it and investigate it. And in this way, you will help us to improve this software and make it better and better. And if you post a question or a bug report, please specify the version of the extra backup you are using and the version of MySQL you are running extra backup against. It may save much time while investigating. So I'm completed with the presentation, and do we have any questions? Oh, about the slides. As I know correctly, Nikki may correct me, that the recorded session will be later available at Percona.tv site. Okay, Nikki says it will be posted in a few days online. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I want to thank everyone for attendance. I hope you find this webinar useful. And as I already said, the presentation will be published online in a few days. So thank you all. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.